Well, I wonder what you came up with these ideas about heaven and hell and purgatory, and we'll have a chance to look at that perhaps at the end of the night school. But in the meantime, what was it that was driving Luther to this inevitable clash with the Pope and the power of the Church? He had been studying the Scriptures in a particular kind of way, and that way was to mine them for the riches of theological information, not to take it as the tradition says this and we interpret the tradition in this kind of way. His mind was much more active than that. He really searched those scriptures, and there is one in particular when he reads in the book of Romans the verse that says, "The just shall live by faith." He realized that that meant, in effect, that things like the fasting that he had to do as a monk, the prayers, the rigorous prayer life that he had to do, all the works of charity, while these things might have intrinsic value in themselves, they were not the things that brought about God's salvation. It is justification by faith. It is the faith that we have that somehow God will seek us out to do the saving work in us, rather than the salvation we would try to do for ourselves. So that's a key idea that he's grasped hold of. Another key idea, and he's in the line of a number of thinkers about this, and notably the Englishman John Wycliffe and the Bohemian Jan Hus, both of whom had reached the conclusion that the Bible was fundamental to the life of the church as it developed, and the church itself was more peripheral than the Bible. Now, Luther puts this in a nutshell. He uses the famous word, the Sola, Scriptura, by the Bible alone. And that, of course, is Protestantism's dangerous idea. Who has the right to interpret the Scripture? Does the church ultimately have the right to tell us how we should interpret? And those are the three questions that I want to leave with you for the next breakout room. And I'll give you a reasonable amount of time, 20 minutes, to discuss these three questions. The first is, are we justified by our faith? The second is, does the church have the right to interpret the Scripture for the people of the church? The third question is, if the individual interprets the Scripture for themselves, how do you know that the interpretation has validity? And when you go to your breakout room, you'll find those questions.